Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me on the Weibo Band Network. My name is Mrs. Baker, and I'm joining you live from my living room. And I'm here to bring you the latest and greatest band news. And we're going to bring you an exciting event today called Music Madness. Over the next couple of weeks, we will be going through a bracket of some awesome band music. You'll be given 2 songs to listen to, and after you've heard them both, you'll decide which song you like better. Cast your vote in this week's assignment on Canvas, and be sure to complete your reflection. After I've received all of the votes, we'll tally them up to see which piece will go on to the next round. The fate of these songs is entirely in the hands of you, the listener. Make sure you do your part to make sure the song of your choice makes it to the next round. 2 brackets of 2 songs each will be competing this week. The senior high will decide the fate of bracket 1, and the junior high will decide the fate of the second bracket. I encourage you to listen to all 4 pieces because this week's matchups are awesome. Let's talk about this week's brackets. Today's first bracket matchup is for the senior high, and it is Gustav Holst's First Suite in E-flat versus Alfred Reed's The Hounds of Spring. This one is sure going to be a tough one to decide. The Hounds of Spring has a really strong opening game, while the First Suite pulls out all the stops towards the end of the first movement. Composer Gustav Holst was an English composer that was born in 1874 and died in 1934. Some of you may know him for his orchestral suite, The Planets, the movements of Jupiter, and Mars being the most well-known. Holst's First Suite in E-flat is considered a cornerstone of band repertoire. It consists of 3 stunning movements that each have their own character and are reminiscent of English folk song. And on the other side of the court, we have Alfred Reed, who was an American composer who lived from 1921 to 2005. His work, The Hounds of Spring, was inspired by English poet Algernon Swinburne, who, when he said, "When the hounds of spring are on winter's traces, the mother of months in meadow or plain fills the shadows and windy places with lisp of leaves and ripple of rain." Reed said that with this work he wanted to capture the twin elements of the poem, exuberant youthful gaiety and the sweetness of tender love, in an appropriate musical texture. This one will be a tough matchup, and we'll see how it shakes out. Senior high, you decide. Now, for this week's matchup with the junior high, we've got a tight game between 2 amazing works. William Schumann's George Washington Bridge has been seated against Frank Ticheli's Blue Shades. This will be a head-to-head competition between bitonality and blue notes. How will it shake out? Let's talk about the details. William Schumann lived from 1910 to 1992 and was an American composer. The work was inspired by the George Washington Bridge in New York City and makes use of something called bitonality, which means that there are 2 keys going on at once. Can you believe that? In the program notes, Schumann says, "There are few days in the year when I do not see George Washington Bridge. I pass it on my way to work as I drive along the Henry Hudson Parkway on the New York shore. Ever since my student days when I watched the progress of its construction, this bridge has had for me an almost human personality, and this personality is astonishingly varied, assuming different moods depending on the time of day or night, the weather, the traffic, and of course, my mood as I pass by. I've walked across it late at night when it was shrouded in fog, and during the brilliant sunshine hours of midday. I've driven over it countless times and passed under it on boats. Coming to New York City by air, sometimes I have been lucky enough to fly right over it. It is difficult to imagine a more gracious welcome or dramatic entry to this great metropolis." Now, this work, so end quote there, this work will surely be a strong contender against the challenger. So on the other side of the court, we have Frank Ticheli's Blue Shades. Frank Ticheli is an American composer that was born in 1958. When you hear the title Blue Shades, many musicians automatically think of the blues. You'll find that this work has very few swung notes and no 12-bar blues progressions. Where this song is blue, is the presence of blue notes, which are flattened thirds, fifths, and sevenths. According to the program notes for this work, Tekeli tried to portray all shades of blue: bright blue, dark blue, dirty blue, yes, that's how he described it, dirty blue, and hot blue. Both of these works are simply exquisite. Who will come out on top? Time for you to decide. Happy listening. We'll see you next time on the Weibo Band Network for Music Madness. This is Mrs. Baker signing off.